1 week ago, I sat in this very chair at this very desk and I told y'all, hey, I'm not worried about Oregon. Idaho this, Idaho that, don't matter. Oregon will turn it on this upcoming week against Boise State. Final score was 37-34 in Autzen. Took a game-winning field goal for the Ducks to get it done over G5 Boise State. Good Boise State team now. Are we concerned yet about Oregon? 2 weeks in a row. Looking a little bit lackluster against a team from the state of Idaho. Are we worried yet? We'll talk about that right now. Make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Duck fans, had a lot of y'all join the party over the course of the last few months. Want y'all a part of this. Want y'all subscribed. We appreciate y'all in advance for being locked in. So here's the way that I would put this after watching these last 2 weeks of what Oregon has put on the field. I'm not selling my stock just yet, but I also understand that the stock that I am holding, the price of that is beginning to drop. So I'm not selling my stock. I'm not out on Oregon. However, I am a little bit nervous. If you've checked my college football playoff picture rankings, I've got Oregon outside the top 10 right now. It's only 2 weeks. We'll see what they are going forward. But I'm a little bit concerned as to how Oregon didn't dominate the matchup football that I thought they would dominate against Boise State. Like the offensive line struggled in pass pro. I mean, they allowed 4 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss. Some of that's probably on Dillon Gabriel. But still, the offensive line, to me, was supposed to be one of the focal points of this whole operation. One of the reasons why you pick Oregon to win the Big Ten, like I did. Not backing out of my pick, but I'm just saying. That was kind of concerning. Defensively, I expected them to get a great push up front. That did not happen. Ashton Jeanty ran for almost 200 yards. Now, that is, as of right now, the best back in college football. But even with that being said, that's a G5 team. Like Ohio State, they're going to be a lot better up front. Michigan, going to be a lot better up front. So there's some things that concern you where you're like, hey, okay, that's now the second week where Oregon hasn't played, for 4 quarters as dominant as you would expect them to. The spread coming into this thing was like darn near 3 touchdowns. It was like in the high teens. I think it got up to, I think it touched 20 or so. A little bit concerned, not so much by the matchup football that did kind of irk me a little bit if I'm watching Oregon, but the thing that I think maybe irked me the most was like after everything that was said about Oregon coming out of the Idaho game, they're fraudulent, they're this, they're that, they're not that good. You would have hoped they would come out with a sense of urgency, sense of fire, sense of wanting to prove everyone that was talking down on them wrong. And I didn't see that in this game. I didn't see a team on a mission. I saw a team that was struggling to find their footing. 2 weeks in a row now, they have done things that good football teams just quite frankly don't really do. Hear me clearly. I believe Oregon is a good football team. But again, 2 weeks in a row, they have had turnovers. I know some of them are a little bit fluky. I get it. Fumbles are fumbles, but like 2 weeks in a row, had issues. Okay, especially this past game, they had issues. Lost the penalty battle 2 weeks in a row. Again, good football teams, they do not give away free yards. I'm not telling you that Oregon won't eventually have a lot of success this year, but 2 weeks in now, back-to-back weeks against inferior opponents, struggled. Allowed almost 200 yards rushing in this game from one running back. Like that's not winning football. Now, I think you also at the same time have to acknowledge that good football teams, which again, I believe Oregon is, found ways in other facets of the game, special teams, to provide an edge. Had a punt return touchdown, had a kick return touchdown that your heart stopped a little bit watching Noah Whittington drop the football before he crossed the the goal line. Still, Oregon picked it up, little heads-up play there from the Ducks. At the end of the day, you found a way to get it done. So don't ever let them tell you there's such thing as a bad win. Not true. Not true. Some wins are a little bit less comfortable than others. Some wins you have to take a deeper look in the mirror than others. But still, found a way to win the football game. That's not me telling you all is okay. That's not me telling you that Oregon's got no issues. That's, I think, the real thing I want to focus on here. There is a difference between having issues and having problems. Problems, you need to find a definitive solution. A problem to me is a lot like, hey, we just don't have X, Y, and Z on the roster. Hey, we just can't do this thing. That is our problem. Problems need a solution. I think issues are things you can work through. Whenever you have personal issues, what do? You go talk to somebody. You have a conversation. You work through it. You do the proper work behind closed doors to eventually solve that issue. Okay, so I think Oregon right now, they have issues. I don't think they have problems. I think they have issues. I think that right now it's possible that there's two things. One, Oregon is not as good as we thought. That's a possibility. I think the other possibility, which is where I would personally fall right now through 2 weeks of the season, is Oregon is not yet gelling as a 2024 operation. New quarterback, new pieces on the perimeter, new pieces on defense. Like, I'm not telling you it's an excuse, but I am telling you that's an issue. Not a problem, it's an issue. Dylan Gabriel can play at a high level. We've seen him play at a high level now through 2 weeks for Oregon. I think this offensive line's got some issues. They're trying to get it all ironed out. The defense had some issues getting aligned. Those aren't problems. There's no tangible reason why they can't. 2 games in a row now, Oregon's had superior talent. The issue is putting it together. So all that's to say, I think Oregon's going to work through these issues, and I also think it's worth noting here, the margin for error in the new era of college football is very much so playing in Oregon's favor. Now, you can't go lose to an Oregon State or anybody else on your schedule and be expect to have no repercussions, but like overall, Oregon plays their more meaningful football in October and November. The 2 biggest games on their schedule when it comes to like a talent comparison, Ohio State, October 12th, and then and then Michigan. Michigan, we'll see what they are. They didn't look that great against Texas. I'm assuming they'll be a much better product by the time they play Oregon later in the year. But all that's to say now, I think Oregon, if you're going to win every other game that you're supposed to win, you lose to Ohio State and Michigan, which, if that were to happen, that'd be unfortunate for the folks in Eugene. But still, 10-2 Oregon, if they pass the eye test the rest of the way, like they're probably in the college football playoff. So again, Oregon's meaningful football, they're more difficult football is ahead of them. They have time to gel. Now, this game against Oregon State, this is going to be the biggest test they've had. And considering the fact that they passed their last couple of tests with like a C+ from the Ducks against Idaho and Boise State, you can't have a C+ game and beat Oregon State. I don't care what you think the talent gap is. In a rivalry kind of game, you better bring it. So again, I think Oregon has issues, not problems. Are they able to work through those issues without catching an L before playing the more difficult roster tests they have left on their schedule? Curious to hear what y'all think. Again, I'm not selling my stock just yet. Not doing it. I'm riding with them. Still with my Oregon to win the Big Ten pick. But I'd be lying to you if I said, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of concern after seeing 2 subpar performances against teams that, quite frankly, you should blow the doors off of. It is what it is. Very excited to see how they respond this week, and curious to see what they are the rest of the way. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. As always, we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.